Brothers don't understand that. Hello, Alex. God, I hate that thing. It's great. Otherwise, I'm glad it's not raining or snowing. I could actually go to work on a dry road. Yeah, going to Brigham City. If anybody's wondering. Clearfield.
Anyway, I want to say this. I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.
Vital Farms farmers do a lot for their hens, like giving them open pastures with lots of fresh air and sunshine. Because who doesn't love a good sunbathe, a stretch, and a breeze through their feathers while foraging on a natural buffet of grasses? One thing is for sure, all that extra care means good eggs for you. So look for the black carton in the egg aisle and visit VitalFarms.com to learn more. Vital Farms, good eggs, no shortcuts.
Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Hopefully everyone is enjoying the festive holiday season, enjoying spending time with loved ones and relatives, and keeping in mind that giving to others is more important than any selfish concerns. Whether you're celebrating Christmas or Hanukkah, it is that time of the year for reflection on how you arrived to where you are now, remembering the loved ones who are no longer with us, and how you can care for others within and outside of your orbit in the present and future. So with that in mind, it's time to jump into today's topic, mutilation of cattle by the alien presence on Earth. Yes, that's what we're going to talk about today. It's something that I've talked about a number of times on this show, and it's time to talk about it again because, we have, a lot of us already knew this for a long time, but now we have the absolute proof that shows that we're not alone, and we'll still have trouble accepting the fact that what is responsible for all of these cattle mutilations, for the most part, I would say, it is this alien presence on Earth. I mean, this is something that has been investigated by people like Linda Moulton Howe. She started her investigations back in the 1970s, and there's just no question, as far as anyone should be concerned, what's going on here is that for some reason, cattle, amongst other livestock, are targeted. But most of all, we notice it's the cattle. That's a lot of ranchers find this out the hard way, and they have no explanation for it. A lot of them, some of them believe it's satanic cults or just predators, but that's not the case. I think the problem with the human race here, right, when it comes to this subject, when it comes to this whole alien presence on Earth issue, is that we just don't want to face the reality of the situation. The situation is that these cattle are being mutilated and having their blood completely drained from their bodies by this alien intelligence. There's just no question about it. I mean, people have seen UFOs in a lot of these cases. I've talked about a number of these cases in various other podcasts where people over the years, throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s, and basically we didn't start noticing this until the late 1960s when there was a case in Colorado involving a horse that was mutilated in this horrible, horrific fashion. But the problem is that we're not accepting the reality of the situation. I mean, the FBI investigated over, I think it was a 4-year period back in the 1970s, and they didn't come up with any explanation. That's because the explanation is something that's above their pay grade. That's because the explanation is that there's an intelligent race of beings here that is responsible for this. That's what it is. That's what it is, and we still deny it. We're still denying it. A lot of people that have been affected by this, they just can't bring themselves to admit to the reality of the situation, and that is that these creatures, these alien creatures, whatever we don't know what, we could argue all day about why they're doing this, right? We'll get into that a little bit here, but the reality is that they are the ones responsible for a lot of these cattle mutilations. These ones where, not only are there the blood in a lot of these bovine, right? The blood is completely drained. There's no evidence of blood around the carcass when they're found, right? There's no evidence whatsoever of a drop of blood. It's all gone. So I mean, it just doesn't vanish, right? Blood from a body is just not going to vanish. It's not just going to seep all of it's there. But yet, you even have some experts that will try to tell us, right, that is, it must have just seeped to the ground. That's why we can't see it. That's nonsense. It's like when it comes to aliens, when it comes to this extraterrestrial non-human intelligence hypothesis, right? Actually, it's not a hypothesis anymore. It's an absolute fact. It's a reality. When it comes to this, right, a lot of people, they just can't bring themselves to point to that as the reason behind this. Instead, they'll have to come up with other explanations, which they don't have any evidence whatsoever to back any of these claims up. When they say it's Satanists, that's nonsense. Where's your proof? No one's ever been caught after all of these decades of having to deal with this situation. No one has ever been busted, ever, right? Nobody's been caught. And how do you explain it? Not only is the blood drained from them, but body parts like ears, the tongue, the rectum are cored away, and it looks like it's with laser precision. Like the wounds are all cauterized on top of it. Eyeballs are removed, right? Obviously, something's happening here, and it has to. Its intelligence is behind it, but it's not human beings, because human beings. Why would a human being do something like this? What kind of cult would do something like that? For one thing, even a satanic cult wouldn't do something like that. To be quite honest with you, if you ever looked into what Satanists do, that's not something that they would do. So the explanation is that aliens are doing this. Now, I just want to point out now, earlier today, like I was taking a ride. I was taking a ride because I needed to get some medicine. Because it's over a week now. I've been sick for over a week, right? Apparently it's RSV, right? Around the same time last year, I had the same thing, and I guess I'm not learning my lesson, because I should have gotten. I believe, from what I understand, there is a vaccine for it, and that maybe would have prevented me from getting sick like this. But obviously, I didn't get that vaccine, and now I've been sick for over a week, coughing my brains out. So today I was on a ride. Because there wasn't enough medicine in the house, and I needed to go get some medicine, some cough suppressants, right? And I'm taking a ride, and I see this big sign on the side of the road for a big bacon mushroom double cheeseburger at Wendy's. It looked really good. Now, I didn't go there because I knew that there was a whole bunch of leftovers in the refrigerator from yesterday, right, from Christmas. So I didn't do that. But it looked really good, and a lot of us out there, we eat beef. Now, I don't think that's what's happening with these beings, but I think that they might be using the blood. I mean, it's just a hypothesis. We don't know. We could argue about this, but they're doing it for some reason. They're mutilating the cattle, removing the blood and taking away the body parts for some purpose. Now, there have been stories of from some abductees that say they saw these creatures receive their nutrients through the pores of their skin, and they get in tanks, and maybe that's what's happening. Maybe they take that blood from cows, and they mix it in with something else, and then they sit in these tanks, and that's how they get their nutrition, right? Who knows? We could argue about that all day, but the bottom line is what we need to not argue about anymore is the fact that it's these beings. They're the ones who are responsible for a lot of these cattle mutilations. That's the reality of the situation. We need to start facing that fact, because that's what it is. There's no question about it. I mean, over the years, there's been so many different reports of UFOs being seen in the area. Sometimes some people have stayed up all night, trying to wait to see if something happens. And sometimes they do. Sometimes they did see things that happen. They saw lights in the sky, and then the next day, guess what? Another mutilated cow. There's no other explanation for it other than it's these alien beings. It's the best explanation for it. There's no, as far as I'm concerned, that's what it is. That's who's responsible for it. But for some reason, the humans as a whole, we're just too stupid or something. There's something wrong with us. There's some sort of a mental block for us. We just don't want to believe this. We don't want to accept this reality. But that's what it is. That's what it is. Anyway, I want to go through a couple of articles here. Now, here was a recent article about some things going on in Oregon. And this was from thetravel.com. And it says here, Oregon's biggest mystery spans decades and is still unsolved. Now, Oregon is just one of many states in the United States, and there's other places across the world, not just the United States, that had to deal with this issue. Let's read what this article says. It says, for few mysteries have as persistently defied solving as the one that has plagued Oregon intermittently since the late 1970s. No, not why over 130 people have never returned from Oregon's most scenic peak, although that's also fascinating, but rather the brutal but surgically precise killing of some of the state's most valuable livestock. Of course, Oregon is not the only place where cattle mutilations have occurred. More than a dozen United States have seen these strange attacks against cattle and other animals since the late 1960s. However, Oregon is the site of some of the most unusual recent attacks. And then it gets into an incident that happened in 2019. 5 valuable bulls worth about $6,000 each were killed on a ranch in Oregon's Silvies Valley in 2019. What was remarkable was not that they were dead. Cattle frequently die either at slaughter or for other reasons, such as predators or disease. But these 5 had been completely drained of blood without spilling a drop, and certain body parts like the tongue and genitals were removed with what was described as surgical precision. No predator kills like that, nor did these cattle waste away from any disease. So, as you see, it's not people doing this. I mean, people are not doing this. They would have. It's happened so many times over the decades now, right? Somebody would have been caught by now. And in a lot of cases, right, there's no footprints around the carcasses right, when they're found. These emaciated carcasses. There's no footprints around them. A lot of times, sometimes the bones are broke for some reason, as if they were dropped from a height. Obviously, what's happening here is these beings are showing up in their craft. They're somehow drawing up the cattle inside the craft for who knows how long it takes. They're removing the blood, removing some body parts surgically, and then just dropping the body on the ground and taking off. And then the next day, the farmer or the cattle rancher thinking to himself, oh, must be Satanists, which is absurd on its face. But anyway, let's continue with this article. It says, the case bore striking similarities to other Oregon attacks. In 2021, 7 more cattle were found with body parts removed, this time in Crook County. In 2017, a cow was found mutilated near Princeton, like the Silvies Valley attack in Harney County. During the 1980s, a cow was mutilated in Pendleton, Oregon, in Umatilla County. In 1977 and 1978, cattle mutilations occurred in Union, Lynn, and Wallowa counties. Strange cattle mutilations have also been reported in Oregon's Grant, Gilliam, Wasco, Wheeler, and Lake counties. No investigation into these crimes has ever found a solution, but there are theories aplenty. Well, let me just stop there again. There is the one theory that only makes any sense whatsoever. Actually, I believe it is the correct answer to this. It's not even a theory as far as anyone should be concerned. It's these beings. That's who's responsible. There is no other explanation. It's not predators. Predators are not capable of removing body parts from a cow using laser technology. That doesn't happen. So that can't happen. Even Satanists, right? Satanists would leave footprints in the ground, right? Satanists, where are they getting this equipment from? They would have been caught by this point. It's just all of these other explanations, right? Just don't make any sense to me. And they seem more absurd to me than the alien explanation.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Business owners need Progressive Insurance. They make it easy to get discounts on commercial auto insurance and find coverages to grow your business. Quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
As a parent or mentor, you have the awesome opportunity to help a young person build a future. So if the future they want is in the military, take the time to learn more at todaysmilitary.com, because their success tomorrow begins with your support today.
Anyway, let's see here. Let's go forward a little bit. It said that here's part of the article where it says, what caused the Oregon attacks? Aliens are among the most frequently named suspects, and that should be the case because that's who is responsible. Aliens, that's who's responsible, or non-human intelligence, whatever you want to say, right? But it's those beings, whatever they are, those other beings that are here on this present on this planet. That's who's responsible. And for some reason, we don't want to accept this. Some of us do, right? Some of us realize that's what it is. But even some people in the UFO community don't want to accept it. Some people in the UFO community believe it's the government doing this for some why? If that doesn't make any sense either. If the government wanted to, take apart a cow, they could just buy one. Why do it in the privacy? I mean, why would they sneak into someone's ranch in the middle of the night and mutilate some cow and just let it there? Why would they do that? That doesn't make any sense either. None of those other explanations make any sense when you really think about it, right? The only one that makes sense is that aliens are responsible. Anyway, continuing, it says, why do mutilated cattle keep being found across the United States and in Oregon specifically? Despite thousands of cases nationwide, there's little evidence to support any theories. I disagree. I beg to differ with that, right? Because there is. Because people have seen UFOs, right? And we know that these beings are here. For a lot of different reasons we know this, right? So that's who it is. There's no mystery really. I mean, there is some mystery to it. The mystery is, why are they doing it? I think it could be for food purposes, but that's only a hypothesis. But it is them, these creatures, they are the ones that are responsible. That's what we need to start facing this fact. That's who it is. That's who it is. Nothing else makes any sense. But due to the strange elements in the killings, the absence of blood, the removal of tongues, sex organs, and other body parts, the fact that no tracks are ever found, and that scavengers refuse to touch these animals, many have leaped to supernatural explanations. Now, for some reason, I don't think that an alien presence on Earth is supernatural. I mean, supernatural to me, that means like ghosts or something. That's supernatural. I mean, aliens here, that's just, that's what's supernatural. No, it's natural because they're here and there's nothing supernatural about it. That's just part of this deal we're all part of, right? And they're real. They're really here. There's nothing supernatural about it. It's natural. Harney County Sheriff's Deputy Dan Harney told NPR that aliens are a popularly proposed culprit. Well, yeah, there's a good reason for that. A lot of people lean toward the aliens. One caller had told us to look for basically a depression under the carcass because he said that the alien ships will kind of beam the cow up and do whatever they're going to do with it. Then they just drop them from a great height. Yes, it looks like what's happening. Anyway, continuing, he says, if this sounds absurd, it should be noted that aliens have been linked to many unexplained things. For example, the Area 51 conspiracy theories and the many ancient structures are believed to be built by aliens. But aliens crop up often in discussions of cattle mutilations. Netflix's Unsolved Mysteries mentioned the possibility, and journalist Linda Moulton Howe wrote a book and made a documentary about the topic. She made more than one documentary. Yeah, actually, the first one she did, what's it called? Strange Harvest, was really something else. If you have access to that one, check it out. Anyway, cults have been associated with many places in California with morbid backstories. Satanic versions have also been floated as potential malefactors in the ongoing mystery of cattle mutilations. However, when the unusual slayings began happening in droves in the 1970s, ranchers suspected the United States government of testing a chemical or biological weapon. After all, such testing had killed 6,000 sheep around Dugway Proving Grounds in Utah in 1968. Now, let me tell you something. Again, has nothing to do. The government is not responsible for this. It makes absolutely zero sense. The government, right, the federal government, does not want people to think that there are aliens here in the first place. So, one of the theories I hear coming from within the UFO community is that, well, the government is doing this to make us think that there are aliens here. Now, why would they do that? Do this, mutilate cattle and then make it look like aliens are doing it. That makes absolutely no sense. And even if the government is responsible, say the government was responsible, somebody would have been caught by now. It would have been busted. Somebody, a journalist, anybody. There's so many investigations into this over the years. By this point, we would have had culprit. Right? It would have been over with. But the reason we don't is because it's these aliens and they're technologically advanced, way more advanced than we are. That's why they keep getting away with it all the time, year after year after year. Anyway, continuing, it says, neither seems likely considering the number of cases across so many states. A more interesting theory that deals with the problem of geography has been posed. Agricultural historian Michael Goldman has posited that economic anxiety and distrust of the government have caused ranchers to look for more conspiracy-based reasons for the killing, citing rising cattle feed costs and beef price freezes in the 1970s as reasons for the widespread mutilation panic during that decade. Again, that's totally ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. I love when they bring up someone like an agricultural historian that give you the answer to something like this. And then this is what they give you. That's garbage. Anyway, it doesn't provide a solution to the unusual mutilations, but not everyone agrees that they're that strange. When retired FBI agent Kenneth Rommel investigated in the late 1970s, he thought that the wounds were consistent with scavengers, the deaths themselves attributable to poison or disease. Well, guess what? Kenneth Rommel was gaslighting, because that's not the case, folks. That's just not the case.
Brigham City.
Anyway, I want to shoot over to a different article, and this was a recent article in the Express.com. Aliens disemboweling cows mystery takes new twist as rancher finds clues. Now, of course I will leave the links for all these articles, but this one here has someone an ex-rancher who has his explanation, and it's humans, and it's totally absurd on its face. It's more absurd than aliens. Anyway, let's check this out. It says, Experts on a mission to crack America's longest-running murder mystery have unearthed new clues in a puzzle that has haunted ranchers since the 1970s. From Kansas to Oregon, there have been eerie incidents of cattle found slain, their reproductive organs surgically removed, yet not a drop of blood left behind at the scenes. These bizarre occurrences sparked fears of extraterrestrial beings with an odd fascination for bovine anatomy. Again, let me just stop there again. I think they're using it possibly food, but that doesn't make me right. It could for other reasons, but I think number one reason is probably food. That would be my guess. I think that they're draining the blood, and who knows? Maybe the little body parts they remove surgically, maybe they're like delicacies or something. Who knows? Maybe the praying mantis ones like to chew on cow tongue or something like that. That's possible. We don't know. Again, we can only guess. But I think it's the main thing here is that they're being drained of their blood. That's the main thing to focus on here. Why would they be doing that? I think they're using it, doing that for nutritional reasons, and they need it. They need it to survive, like vampires, basically. Anyway, it says, these bizarre occurrences spark fears of extraterrestrial beings with an odd fascination for bovine anatomy. However, an ex-rancher from Oregon posits that these bovine deaths are the work of a sophisticated network of humans. Wow! A sophisticated network of humans are doing this. There's a group of guys and ladies out there, right, that are doing this, and they're sophisticated, and they're doing this for reasons unknown for decades, and they get away with it every single time. That's what this guy said. Colby Marshall, this guy is somebody who has experienced these things up close and personal. Colby Marshall stumbled upon 5 bulls in 2017, all with their tongues excised. He suspects a cult engaging in ritualistic use of the animal parts is responsible. His theory, this is his own words, they're using some sort of toxin that causes the animal to go catatonic. There's no sign of struggle with the animal, so they dart them or something. But there's absolutely no evidence of this, but that's all he can come up with, because he does not, Colby, and as well as a lot of other people out there, they don't want to face the reality of the situation. They don't want to face the reality of the situation, which is that there's an alien presence here that's responsible, that's doing this. That's what's doing it. Has nothing to do with people. Nothing at all.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Business owners need Progressive Insurance. They make it easy to get discounts on commercial auto insurance and find coverages to grow with your business. Quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
As a parent or mentor, you have the awesome opportunity to help a young person build a future. So if the future they want is in the military, take the time to learn more at todaysmilitary.com, because their success tomorrow begins with your support today.
He further explained that the lack of blood could be because the perpetrators extracted, quote, from the animal's tongue, which they then take because that is the one piece of forensic evidence. You gotta be kidding me. Anyway, speaking to Fox News Digital, Marshall expressed his skepticism about alien involvement. Now, do I think they're using their technology to come after free-range bulls in eastern Oregon? No, I don't think they would have better uses of their technology than that. The Federal Bureau of Investigations first reported on the mutilated cows in 1974, citing cases in Oklahoma and Nebraska. The agency investigated the deaths until 1978, but never identified a perpetrator. That's because it was aliens. Let me stop there. That's because it was aliens. The perpetrators were aliens in their UFOs, their flying saucers. And we just don't have that kind of technology to catch them in the act. And if we did, we wouldn't be able to do anything about it. That's the bottom line here. That's the bottom line. However, by the end of the decade, over 10,000 instances of cattle mutilation had been documented, primarily at small-scale ranches in the West and Midwest. Yeah, it's still going on. I mean, we've talked about it on here over the last couple of years. Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, there's Oregon, right? It's still happening all the time. Pennsylvania, there's been some cases, right? It's all over the place, right? And it's never stopped. And the reason it's never stopped and the reason no one's ever been caught is because it's aliens, but we can't admit to it because there's something wrong with us, with the human race. We're too afraid to admit to this reality. That's what it is. We don't want to face up to it. That's what it is. But it is aliens. Make no mistake. Marshall has launched his own investigation into the crime, suspecting that multiple individuals were involved in the killings. He explained that one person would have held up his leg while another made an incision and cut around the testicles to remove them. So they're using some sort of a mystery chemical to make these cows go into a state of catatonia, right? And then they're able to do these things to them and then remove the blood and everything somehow without leaving a trace, including their own footsteps. But see, again, that's more absurd than the idea of aliens doing it. He added, then you've got to hand all that material to somebody, because if you drop it on the ground, you're going to cause traction, you're going to drop blood. There would be signs. Within 24 hours of their deaths, Marshall and his team took blood samples from the bulls and found no evidence of chemicals in the animals' bloodstreams. Well, there you go. There was no evidence of chemicals in the bloodstreams at all. He added, anything that metabolizes quickly in the bloodstream is not going to be detectable. That's one of the things that I think is key to this, is that this toxin they're using metabolizes quickly. Again, none of this makes any sense, though, because, see, they're forgetting the fact that some people have seen the lights in the sky, and then the next day the cattle is mutilated, right? So again, this is like you're grasping at for an explanation that's not real. You're trying to make it real by saying these things, right? Oh yeah, I would have metabolized the whatever they shot into them, the toxin that they used to knock them out, right? That metabolized in their blood, and that's how they were able to mutilate them. But again, the reason, where's the reasoning for this, right? There's no real reasoning other than to say that some cult, right? Nobody's ever been caught. Again, no one's ever been caught. There's no footprints. It's incredible to me that we're just this stupid. A lot of us are just really stupid when it comes to this. We're just, I don't know what else to say about it other than we're stupid. Marshall compared it to a sedative used in horse racing, which puts the animals down for a few minutes so their hooves can be maintained. He said, it goes through the system within a few minutes, the animal gets up and they're fine. In the case of the dead cows, the animal doesn't get up because they bleed them to death. At least that's my theory. That's his theory. That's his theory, Marshall's theory, right? Because he can't accept any other theory.
Give me 1 sec. I'll say I tried. He never answers his phone.
Right? He's incapable of accepting the alien hypothesis. He cannot accept that, because then he'll be viewed as silly, right? And see, that's again, it comes down to this stigma that's been created. over the years. So a person like Colby Marshall, he can never ever go, and it's not his fault. It's just that he's a victim of this propaganda, and he's afraid of the stigma. So he has to come up with this. This to him sounds more reasonable than the reality of the situation that it's alien. Joseph Laycock, associate professor of religious studies at Texas State University, told DailyMail.com in 2023 that Satanists likely aren't responsible since the majority oppose animal sacrifice. There you go. A majority of them oppose animal sacrifice. Besides that, again, they would have been caught by this point. I mean, over the decades, right, there have been efforts by cattle ranchers to catch the culprits. And when they tried to catch the culprits, in a lot of these instances, what happens is nobody ever shows up, right, except for some lights in the sky sometimes, right? That's it. So the answer is there. That's what it is. UFOs show up and then the cattle are mutilated. That's because it's aliens. That's why. But we just don't want, it just keeps happening over and over and over, decade after decade after decade after decade. And we won't just live up to, we won't face to the fact here. We can't live up to it. We can't own it. We don't want to. A lot of us don't anyway. I mean, I do. Of course, I understand what's going on because I'm not stupid like these people. I'm not worried about the stigma. I don't care because I know for a fact that there's something, right? Anyway, he explained there's a possibility. There's always the possibility of teenage delinquents harming animals in the name of Satan, but I don't think that's what's happening in this case. Teenagers would probably have left tracks or other obvious evidence, and I totally agree with this guy, Laycock. Obviously, he knows what he's talking about. He is, at least he's intelligent enough to make that kind of a statement, I must say. But others are not. Unfortunately, they don't want to live up to it. They don't want to face the reality. They just can't. They can't own up to it. They just can't do it. It's just against their nature. They don't want to be. They're afraid they'll be viewed as crackpots if they go to that explanation. And it's already ingrained in their head that would be silly to think that. That would be silly that it's aliens. I mean, there have been cases. I mean, there was that one case that Linda Moulton Howe was talking about. It was in the 1990s, I believe, where actually there was a husband and wife that actually witnessed in broad daylight alien creatures, these big-headed gray creatures moving a cow into some sort of a craft. In broad daylight, they're watching it through binoculars. I mean, that's what it is. That's what's been happening. We just don't want to face the reality of it. A lot of us don't. Okay, there's one other thing I want to talk about here. This was an article in onwardstate.com. It says that the headline reads, Penn State researchers given $480,000 to find aliens. You know, let me tell you, the money was given to them. It was a grant from NASA to find aliens. Well, guess what? I'll tell you what. Save your money. Save the money. Throw it in your pockets. You know, give it to a charity or something. Take that $480,000, that grant, and put it. You know, you don't need to spend this money to find aliens. We already have them. We found them for you. We found them for you earlier this year. We already have all the evidence you could possibly want. We have the proof, absolute proof, as I've been talking about on the show. There were aliens that were landed in family's backyard in 2023 in Las Vegas. We already have the proof, so I don't know why they're wasting their money on this. I really don't. Anyway, let's look at the article. It says, a team of Penn State researchers received a grant of $480,000 from the NASA Exoplanets Research Program to search for radio and laser signals from alien civilizations. Well, again, this comes down to that SETI nonsense where people think that they're going to get signals from space, from radio signals from space, which is totally absurd, as I've always talked about on the show. Ridiculous, actually. We already have the proof that there are aliens, that there's non-human intelligence here, so we don't need to do this anymore. We don't. In fact, this isn't going to work anyway. It's not going to. Anyway, the project, led by Pinchin Fan, a doctoral student in astronomy, astrophysics, and astrobiology, and under the supervision of her advisor, Jason Wright, professor of astronomy and astrophysics and director of the P-SETI Center, received a 3-year grant. This NASA grant marks a significant milestone for both Penn State and the broader field of the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, or SETI, Wright said in a release. This area of research has been historically underfunded by NASA, but is now seeing a resurgence in attention and support. The P. SETI Center is uniquely positioned to lead the exploration thanks to Penn State's support, NASA's support, and the dedication of researchers like Pynchon, who will be driving much of this project forward. The project will work on developing new techno-signature deception techniques, which will help find detectable signs indicating the presence of intelligent civilizations in the universe. And there was a direct quote here from Fan, and it says, "We will analyze the patterns of humanity's most powerful deep space radio transmissions as a baseline for understanding the patterns of a civilization's transmissions to its own interplanetary probes. We will use these patterns as a guide to how we might eavesdrop on radio transmissions from other spacefaring civilizations that are not specifically intended for Earth." Okay. I think that's absurd. I don't think you're going to find anything. I don't think you're going to ever capture radio signals of an alien civilization. I think it's never going to happen for so many different reasons. The money would be better served in other areas. $480,000, nothing to sneeze at. I would think that they should donate it to a charity, because we already have evidence that there's an extraterrestrial. We already have the evidence, right? We don't need this. This is nonsense. If you want to try to communicate with them, you could do it with earthly means here, instead of trying to capture signals from outer space. Try to capture them right here from this planet, because they're here, and they must be communicating with each other somehow, right? Maybe you could figure that out. I don't think you will, though. I don't think we'll ever figure out how they're communicating with each other. I don't think we're ever going to capture those signals. I think they're so way more advanced than we are that we're just never going to figure that out. We're never going to catch up to them. Right? It's just not going to happen. But you don't even need it this time. This is a waste of money. We already have the proof that they're here. If you're looking for aliens, right, check out the Vegas alien proof. Then you'll see for yourself, right? It's a done deal, man. It's over. It's over. Anyway, I want to wrap it up. I want to say to everyone out there, happy holidays. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time.
Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. Enjoy complimentary access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection, and with a welcome offer of 150,000 points after you spend $20,000 on purchases on the card within the first 3 months of membership, your business can soar to new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Over the past several days, there's been a little video that has been enjoying a social media vogue, so to speak. A lot of people have been posting it on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, on Reddit, all over the place. A lot of people have been talking about this video, and they're acting as though it's recent, but that's not the case. The video was actually from over 2 years ago in 2022, May of 2022 to be exact. It was posted on a YouTube channel called JeffX1414. Now, this person who posts videos on this channel doesn't post a lot of things. This video was posted 2 years ago, and there was only another video that was posted a year ago, and there's really been nothing since. Usually all the stuff that this person posts is family-related kind of things, and apparently, except for this one instance where he captured what it seems to be an invisible forces moving a tree in his backyard. That's the only way to explain it. The name of the video is called God or Sasquatch. Watch till the end. And like I stated, this has been enjoying a recent social media vogue, because a lot of people are posting this like it's as if it's recent, but it's not. There was some people on YouTube have pointed out that this is actually from a couple of years ago, and they pointed out that here's the original video right here on this channel. But there's a lot of questions after watching this. There's some strange aspects to it, and I don't know what to say about it. But I'll just play the video. It's 3.5 minutes long, and I'm just going to play the video, and then we'll talk about it. Well, check this out.
I hope you can hear this. It sounds like gorillas fighting in the tree. They're breaking limbs bigger around me. Heard that one.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Business owners, meet Progressive Insurance. They make it easy to get discounts on commercial auto insurance and find coverages to grow with your business. Quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Well, what could you say? 2024 was a huge year for the UFO topic. Unbelievably huge. I mean, there was so many different stories all throughout the year. It was very exciting. And as far as I'm concerned, it was the biggest year we ever had and probably the biggest year we ever will have because we have absolute proof now. That's what emerged from 2024. Absolute proof of an alien presence on Earth. Although, sadly, there was a lot of people within the UFO community who still are failing to realize this or even comment on it, a lot of them, which is very surprising to me. I don't understand why. I just can't figure it out for the life of me. But I guess it's just going to take time. It's going to take time. Maybe some of the biggest names in the UFO community, maybe they themselves are suffering with some sort of ontological shock. Of course, what we're talking about here is the Las Vegas alien incident, which I'm sure you ascertained that via the thumbnail that I used for this episode. But there were so many stories to talk about, and that, as far as I'm concerned, we'll get into that one later, and the reasons why that is the biggest one of this year, and actually it's the biggest one of all time to this point. I don't know if anything's going to surpass it at this moment. To this point in time, there is absolutely no question about it. The Las Vegas alien incident, although it did happen in 2023, but it wasn't until 2024, until April of 2024, when it was finally revealed that this case actually provides absolute evidence, absolute proof to show that shows that there's a non-human intelligence among us. They're here right now, and they're here in the now. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff we could talk about, other stories that happened this year. For instance, the Peru mummies. They call them mummies. They're not really mummies. They're just bodies that were preserved for over 1,000 years that were discovered in Peru. The jury's still out on that, apparently. There's still two different sides looking into this. One side says that these were hoaxes, that these were dummies that were put together by hoaxers, while the other side says the DNA in some of these creatures doesn't match anything on Earth. Again, there's still investigations into this. I guess we'll find out more in 2025 when it comes to these Peru bodies that were found, that were discovered, that continue to be discovered. There's actually more that were just discovered recently. So that story is still ongoing. There was the AARO Historical Records report that was released this year, which was absolute junk, as we talked about. It had the former director of the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office's fingerprints, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, all over it. It didn't really explain away anything like they tried to do. They basically presented a bogus document to the public, and that's what it was. It's bogus. It was absolutely bogus. And Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, as we learned, he resigned from AARO in December of 2023, and then he went on a disinformation tour early this year, throughout the year of 2024, and that turned out badly for him because it was discovered that he's a liar. The guy is a giant liar. He got himself caught in a big lie when he stated that he never knew Brandon Fugel, who's the owner of Skinwalker Ranch, never met with him. And then we find out that he did meet with him. We had evidence to back that up. I've talked about this in numerous podcasts throughout the year. There was so many different things. Basically, Kirkpatrick impeached himself. So everything, as far as anyone should be concerned, that Kirkpatrick says with relation to UFOs, right? You can't trust it, because the guy can't be trusted. He's a liar, and he got caught lying, and it's over for him. I mean, to me, he's an absolute joke. Now we have a new guy in charge. We'll see how that's going to go as time goes on. To me, it doesn't look too good at this point. I still think AARO was a waste of time. However, there's been other big stories too. Lou Elizondo, finally, his book was held up for a long time because I had to go through a government review to make sure there was no classified information in that book. But finally it got published. Imminent, excellent book. I'm sure I'll be talking about this throughout this year, the upcoming year, 2025. It should be. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't ever even got a chance to go over in that with regard to that book. And of course, Elizondo also, just past November, the former director of ATIP, Elizondo, appeared in a hearing, testified under oath along with other people, including Dr. Tim Gallaudet, a retired Rear Admiral in the United States Navy, talking about that there is a cover-up, that the government does know about, that there is a presence here, that's a non-human intelligent presence on this planet, crash retrieval, reverse engineering programs, the whole 9 yards, and that if there's a cover-up and we're not being told the truth, and they testified to this under oath, similarly to how David Grush did this, the former Air Force official who testified in 2023 under oath to a House committee, talked about not only is there reverse engineering and crash retrieval programs, but also the alien biologics were recovered. So that was a big story. So many big stories. Just in the last few months, all of the drone incursions all over the world, over areas, over military installations in the United Kingdom, over military installations in the United States, over Washington, D.C., all over the place. There were drone incursions everywhere. The government hasn't really provided to this point any answers, as far as I'm concerned, as far as anybody should be concerned, that are satisfactory. They basically are trying to say that people are just panicking and they're just it's nothing. It's just stuff that's always there. That's what they're trying to say. But they leave out the fact that not only are there drones being seen, large drones, drones that usually hobbyists don't have access to. Not only are there large drones in the sky that people have been seeing, but there are orbs everywhere. There are orb sightings everywhere across the world right now, everywhere. Another big story. So it just doesn't end. There's just so many big things that happened this year, so many. And the excitement's going to continue into the next year, I'm sure. Of course, one of the unfortunate things that happened this year was there was a reintroduction in Congress. The senators like Chuck Schumer wanted to try the UAP Disclosure Act and have that included in the National Defense Authorization Act for 2025. That fell through again, just like it did in 2023. Well, 2023 it got gutted, and now this year it's not part of the National Defense Authorization Act. That was unfortunate, but it's something. The fact that people are still talking about this in Washington is a big deal. So there's still conversations about this. There are a lot of people, a lot of senators, a lot of representatives in the House who continue to talk about this. It's UFOs is something that's not going away anytime soon. In fact, the conversation seems to be getting bigger and bigger all the time as we go forward, and I expect it to even pick up more in 2025. So many big stories. There was a listing here on a website. I just want to go through a few of them here. This was on a site called unexplainedmysteries.com, and they had their top 10 stories from the last 12 months. And I just want to go through some of them here. They said, one of them here, scientists claim to have solved World War II Foo Fighter UFOs mystery. I did talk about this earlier this year in one of my shows, and that involved some scientists trying to say that what people were seeing in World War II, the Foo Fighters, were actually plasma. They think it was plasma. Nobody could really prove that. But that was a story that people were talking about at one point during this year, and something else. Again, it just didn't stop. We were constantly getting bombarded every week with something different all the time. It was a great year. If you're interested in UFOs and the alien presence on this planet, you couldn't go wrong with 2024. It was the biggest year we've ever had, I think. It's going to go down in history, definitely, I think, as the biggest year to date. And it ended with a bang. I mean, and it's still going on. We're going to be moving into 2025 in the middle of this drone and orb issue. Another one they had here was the Pentagon allegedly has a video of a UFO disabling a nuclear missile. Now, this is old news. This was with Bob Jacobs, the former Air Force official who he's been talking about this for decades, so I don't know how that was a big story, but they have it listed here. Then there was the mysterious jellyfish UFO that was filmed floating over a United States military base. That was something that Jeremy Corbell had got his hands on. It was a very strange object that we saw. We don't know if there's something to that or not. We don't have a lot of information other than the video, but it was very strange. Here was another one, MUFON unveils unidentifiable alien material at annual symposium. That was another thing where they had a piece of metal it was metal that was not known anywhere on Earth. That was a pretty decent story to talk about. Yeah, there was so much stuff, so much stuff. Oh, here was a good one. Workers spot large dark metallic disc over Red Rocks Amphitheater in Colorado. That was something we talked about on here. It was a bunch of different witnesses had seen this giant UFO hovering over this Red Rocks Amphitheater in Colorado. That was very interesting. So many big sightings this year. A lot of different videos. All videos are all over the place, more so than probably ever. I mean, they're all over right now. They're all over X. They're all over Reddit. They're all over YouTube. I mean, they're in Instagram. Everywhere you look on the internet, there's all kinds of new UFO videos popping up. Some things that were out for a while that we're just learning about now, like in the previous show where I talked about that tree in South Carolina. Somehow something was shaking that tree, but you can't see what it is. It was invisible. I mean, there's another story that people have been talking about just late in the year.
As a parent or mentor, you have the awesome opportunity to help a young person build a future. So if the future they want is in the military, take the time to learn more at todaysmilitary.com, because their success tomorrow begins with your support today.
Blah, blah, blah.
As a parent or mentor, you have the awesome opportunity to help a young person build a future. So if the future they want is in the military, take the time to learn more at todaysmilitary.com, because their success tomorrow begins with your support today.
Yeah, there was just so much to talk about this year. So many big stories. You don't even know where to begin. As far as I'm concerned, as far as anyone should be concerned, however, I think that the biggest story another one is the Peru aliens. I mean, we'll have to figure that one out as time goes on. I think we'll find more maybe in 2025. Again, there's two sides to that story. I just don't know. At this point, I mean, I was pretty convinced of it. I know a lot of people in the UFO community, people like Jack Connor on Cosmic Road. I mean, he believes that it's disclosure. I had him on the show this year talking about that case. I just don't know though yet. I mean, I think the jury's still out on that one. We're going to have to wait. But the biggest story as far as anyone should be concerned, it has been the Vegas alien case. It was the revelation that was presented right here on this channel when Scott Roeder came on, and he talked about his findings. Him and his associates did a analysis of that video. What happened was, that video was out for a while. There was some things that we were noticing in that video, but we really couldn't prove anything. But then somebody alerted me to the fact that there was a head that appears above that fence. Now, have been other YouTubers that had pointed this out before. I missed some of this stuff before that, and there was a person from New York, Julia June, who contacted me this past March, told me about that you need to check out this when they're getting chased out of the yard. There's some sort of a being's his face appears above the fence, and I did a video on that. Scott Roeder did an analysis of it, and he was able to prove that there was actually something in the yard, and not only that the video wasn't tampered with. There was no CGI used, and so it was a real video. So before I go any further with this, before I show you, I have some new things to show you with this. But before I do, I just recently I did this little pretend video. It was like as if the Vegas alien case was a product called Absolute Proof. Now, I didn't show that on Spotify because of the musical soundtrack that I used for it. I was able to use it on YouTube, but had I put that on Spotify, I would have got flagged and for copyright and all that kind of thing. So I didn't use it on there. But I do have a new version of this. It's the same video, but without the musical accompaniment. And it's as if this was a product. But this product here, it's free. You don't have to pay for it. There's no paying for this product. This is absolutely free. It's called Absolute Proof, and I ran this video on YouTube just recently in last month, I believe. And for my people on Spotify that haven't seen it, I'm going to play it right now. It's about 4 minutes long and explains basically encapsulates the entire Las Vegas alien incident in a short 4 minutes and explains exactly what happened in this case. So just check this out quick. Tired of UFO debunkers laughing at you and insisting you have no proof of the alien presence on Earth? Are you sick of testifying under oath about the reality that we're not alone in the universe, that a faction within the United States government is hiding this truth from the public while operating a covert program to reverse engineer retrieved extraterrestrial crafts that crashed? But you have no evidence other than words to back up your assertions? Are you tired of government officials lying to you about UFOs and aliens? Well, have we got the solution for you? Introducing new, absolute proof of the non-human intelligence on Earth. Stop gaslighting, obfuscation, and idiocy in their tracks with absolute proof. Brought to you by the Las Vegas alien incident of 2023, Absolute Proof is the game changer you've been waiting for. Just before midnight on April 30th, 2023, an object that looked similar to a meteor was seen falling from the sky from 4 states. It was captured on police body cameras, car cameras, and private home surveillance cameras before it made a hard landing in the Las Vegas backyard of a family of 4. Teenage brothers Angel and Joshua were working on their father's truck at the time and watched in amazement as the blue and green lighted object slammed onto the ground, throwing up red sparks. The object became instantly invisible upon impact, and the boys then heard thousands of footsteps running off in various directions. Next thing Angel knew, he was face to face with 2 8 to 10 foot tall alien beings, one of which was able to momentarily paralyze the youth just by staring him in the eyes. Eventually, the 2 brothers escaped the yard and informed Mother Contra and Father Bobby of the high strangeness. The 2 brothers and father, armed with handguns, then attempted to enter the backyard to scare the intruders away or shoot them dead if necessary, while the mother filmed the action with her cell phone camera. Seconds upon entering the yard via a metal gate, one of the creatures emerged from the darkness and scared them back out. Soon after this engagement with apparent beings from another world, Angel called 911 to report 2 tall alien creatures in his backyard.
9 feet, 10 foot, I don't know, they look like aliens to us. Big eyes, they have big eyes, like I can't explain it, and big mouth. They're shiny eyes, and they're not human. They're 100% they're not human.
By the time police arrived, the creatures and craft were gone, and all that was left was a shocked and terrified family. A subsequent analysis of the video by world-renowned crime scene reconstruction expert Scott Roeder and his team determined that the 1 minute and 41 second long cell phone footage was authentic and untampered with. Furthermore, Roeder and his team determined that there were tall alien creatures captured in the video and that they were using some type of cloaking technology to hide themselves from detection. Unfortunately for the aliens, but fortunately for us, that technology wasn't apparently up to par that night because we can see the faces of these weird critters appearing and disappearing throughout. This one here matches exactly an insectoid creature that abducted 4 young men in Maine's Allagash Wilderness in 1976. Further analysis of the video revealed that, in addition to the tall creatures, there were short aliens present as well, including this little guy, who has come to be known as the Undeniable Backbreaker, or UB for short, because his existence cannot be denied or debunked. UB, as you can plainly see, meets the common description of the short alien gray. So, next time you're confronted by idiotic debunkers, make sure you're equipped with absolute proof, and watch them scurry away from it faster than Count Dracula running away from a crucifix. And when you're asked to testify about the extraterrestrial reality in a congressional hearing, feel confident that you have absolute proof in your back pocket to finally move the discussion over the hump and shake the world off its foundations. Absolute Proof, the brand where you can't go wrong. And it's guaranteed. Right, Scott?
I guarantee it.
So there you go with that. And now of course that was done with tongue in cheek, but it was in a way at the same time, everything that's talked about in there, the laying it all out, that's exactly what this story is. That's what it is. I mean, there's no explanation for it other than it has to be some sort of a non-human intelligence that crashed or made a hard landing in someone's backyard. Aliens exited the craft, and they're all throughout the video. Throughout the 1 minute and 41 second long video, and throughout that video there's things that are materializing and dematerializing throughout the entire thing. And some of the best ones, of course, the face above the fence is most certainly one of the best some of the best evidence I've ever seen. And of course, as Scott Roeder talked about, when we actually did a show on April 2nd this year when he first presented his findings, we called it Vindication Day. I will leave a link to that show so you can check it out for yourself. Because we call it Vindication Day, because there's no going back now. As far as we were concerned at that moment in time, right, the evidence and the analysis that he conducted shows that there's no question that there were beings in that yard. And obviously, when you look at them, they're not human, right? They meet the description of alien creatures as people have described over the years, including the family members that saw it that day, the Kenmores. And of course, that's a pseudonym for their real name, which I don't usually say it on my channel, because they want their privacy. They don't want to be bothered with this anymore. But you know, after April 2nd, we continued to look at that. And we found, I found a lot of other stuff in there. Scott and I were looking at this. We kept on finding more evidence of aliens in there throughout the entire thing. And some of the best ones, I think one of the best ones that we found was this, what I call the undeniable backbreaker, or UB. And I just want to play this. Now, before I go on, before I even play this, I want to say this. You know, just recently, Scott and I appeared on an episode of Surviving the Survivor. It's a very popular YouTube channel, and I'll leave the link for that in case you haven't seen that yet. We just yesterday, I believe, or the day before, when it was, we did the interview, I guess, a week or so ago, and now the show just came on yesterday or the day before. And you know, even in the comments there, and sometimes I'll get comments like this: people look at the video and they don't see anything. Well, today I'm going to try to help more people out. I've done some things here. I'm going to try to help people out so they could see what a lot of other people are seeing in this video. But I just want to play this the section where UB is seen, a close-up of it. I've played this before. We're just going to go through it. And as you can see, I have it in slow motion here. But right here, you can see an eye there, an eye there. It's all warped right now. It's all distorted for some reason, like something's in the way. But then all of a sudden, you can see it. Let me just pause it right there. You can see it. You can see an eye here, an eye here. This is its head, right here. You can see it right around. Let me just play it. You can watch it. It's going to turn its head here. There, turn its head. And then it becomes distorted again, as if it knows it's being filmed and it's trying to get out of the frame. And when it gets right before it gets distorted, it's like it throws its head back, and you can still see its eyes. And now you can see what looks like a mouth right here. And then it just disappears. Let me just play that one more time for people so they can see. And then I'm going to show you some still images that I've taken from this. Here it is. Like, you can see a warped version of it. But you can make it out, and then suddenly you're going to be able to see it. There it is, and there it turns its head, and then it becomes distorted again right there, and then it disappears. Okay, now I took a still image from right when it turns its head. This is a still image of the creature right when it turns its head. Okay, here's an eye there, an eye there. This is its head right here. And I'm not even going to get into this, but there's apparently other beings around it as well. I'm not going to try to confuse people. I just want to focus on UB right here. Okay, you can see it now. Here's I drew an outline around it so you can see it better. Now there it is. You see it? Now this is what I'm seeing. This is what other people are seeing. This is what some people are having trouble seeing. And I'm hoping that this will help people out. And that it's not over yet, though. I have another picture, another enhancement as well. As you can see, there's an eye there, an eye there. This is it. I drew a line around where I see it. Let's go back to the original. You seeing it better now? Look, go back, before. There it is. Now you can see it better. There. See, this is what a lot of us are seeing, but some people are having trouble seeing it. And then I actually colored in the entire thing. Now watch this. There. See? There you go. Now this is what I was using in the thumbnail, so you already probably saw this. So let's go from one. There's the original. There's an outline and eyes colored in, and an outline drawn around the figure. And then finally I colored in the entire figure. There you can see it. That's what's there, folks. That is a gray alien, a short gray alien. It meets the description. It's actually moving. Look at it. There you go. Let's go do it again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This could be, you could do an exercise. Maybe you should do I should start an exercise program. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now let's go back and watch that video again.
As a parent or mentor, you have the awesome opportunity to help a young person build a future. So if the future they want is in the military, take the time to learn more at todaysmilitary.com, because their success tomorrow begins with your support today. As a parent or mentor, you have the awesome opportunity to help a young person build a future. So if the future they want is in the military, take the time to learn more at todaysmilitary.com, because their success tomorrow begins with your support today.
Here you go. Here's the video. Maybe you'll see it better now. Maybe for the people who have been having trouble with this, maybe this will help you. I do not know. I hope so. I hope so. There it is. There it is. And that's when it turns its head right there. See, when it turns its head, that's when I paused it right there and I took a still image, and there it is. That's a still image I took. And then you go 1, 2, 3. Okay, now let me show you something else I did here. Let's go through it again. And right when it becomes distorted at the end, I've done something else, and we'll check that out next. Okay, again, there's whatever powers they have, whatever abilities, they were able to hide themselves somehow. There it turns its head, and now it's like it notices it's being filmed, and then whoop, it flings its head back. Now I pause it there. Now maybe people are having trouble seeing this. So here I took a still. There's a still image of that same where a head gets tossed back, and then I drew it there. You see, I filled the eyes in with black, and I put an outline around the head, and I put also filled in the mouth now, which you could see. You couldn't see a mouth in the previous image, but now you could see it. Let me go back and forth with it. There you see it. And you see the mouth and the eyes. You see it clearly, and then I also colored the whole thing in. Are you seeing it now? Is this helping you? Is this helping? I hope it helps people, because this evidence proves it. I mean, the video, as Scott Roeder, he's an expert with over 30 years of experience in video analysis, crime scene reconstructions, all that kind of stuff. And he determined that the video, him and his team determined that the video was not tampered with. And there are creatures like this appearing throughout the entire video, the entire 1 minute and 41 second video. Okay, and now here was the picture of the fence alien. Now I like this picture for some reason. It turned out really well, and I had a big circle around it. I use this a lot, and I've to try to show people where it is. But I also did something similar with this. Now I drew an outline around it, filled in its eyes so you could see it, and then here is the final result. That's the face that is appearing above the fence. That's what is there. It's a semi-transparent face. You could see through it. You can see some of the branches, actually, if you look really closely. And then I filled in the eyes there and had an outline around it, and then I colored it in finally. So there's another example. Now, and then there was another alien that's seen later on, that's standing near a front loader. This is the picture here on the right, and to the left here is a drawing, and I've talked about this before in numerous shows. That was drawn by one of the Allagash Four. The Allagash Four were 4 young guys who went. They went on this big adventure in Maine's Allagash Wilderness back.